is Mario Leitão, and I'm a Senior Cloud Architect from AWS Managed Services. And I'll present to you today how to do cost optimization on AWS using AWS tools and some best practices from AMS. And then we'll start an overview what AMS does, AWS Managed Services, so you understand, because I'm going to talk about after that some of the things we do for customers, customizations and automations we build to help them on cost optimization. Then I will talk about why we have created this cost optimization guide. Then we'll drill down some account preparation, so the things you need to set up the basic foundations on your account so you can start doing optimizations properly. Then we define and report on cost savings opportunities. Then we're going to go some more details on compute, database, storage, and backup, the optimizations we could do for those, and then other things we could do to optimize. Starting off, so what is AWS Managed Services, what the team does? So AMS is your operations partner, extending your operations team and technology so you can focus on innovation. First, we help you evaluate your workloads. We can help you with configurations and enable you to keep workloads running where they are. Customers can onboard fast, in some cases as quickly as 2 weeks. The rapid onboarding, this fast onboarding means faster time to value. Once onboarded, AMS augments and extends your existing teams by adding operational capacity, skills, predefined configuration alerts, processes, and deep automation. You can work in AWS, the way you work with the assurance that you have operational support from AMS. You select the service, operational capabilities, and SLAs that you need for each account. AMS also can be consumed on a month-to-month basis, mirroring the AWS utility compute model. We give you the flexibility to scale up and down, depending on the usage patterns inherent within your business and aligned to your migration, modernization, and transformation strategy and your desired outcomes. So then, why we build this cost optimization guide? So this is basically because this is a list. It's not everything is not included here, but those are the things you can do in AWS, that the tools and features and things that you can use in AWS to help you cut costs on specific services. So depending on the service you want to reduce your costs, you're going to have to use a mix of those tools and functionalities. So as an example, for EC2, you'll have to use 16 of those things that you can see here on the screen. And for RDS, you will have to use 12. So sometimes it's hard for you to know which service you can use to cut costs on a specific AWS service. Sometimes you even forget because the options are very, that there is a lot of options to do. So the goal of these is to help you on that. So to even make it even easier for you to do the same, I'm gonna roll over this presentation, and after I talk about a little bit about each feature, I'm just gonna talk very briefly. The goal is not to understand every cost optimization feature, but only to know where it fits. And I will give you all the resources attached to the link description. So one of these is the checklist that I will also show in the presentation, and we will fill out together, so that it is going to do this match for you. For example, you will be able to filter by only EC2 and see all the tools you can use for EC2. For instance, as this brief example, you could use Compute Optimizer, Instance Scheduler, Open Source OS, and Savings Plan. And there's a bigger list on the bottom, but you're going to have access to the spreadsheet so you can use for yourself and take advantage of this. Another thing I'm going to share with you also in the link description is this resource document. So the resource document is going to have more information about the things I'm talking about. So for example, there is an overview about the AMS, a brief overview, and all the things that, the links that would be very interesting for you to reach, to know more about the service if that's your goal. Not only about the AMS, but almost all the topics I'm going to talk about. You're going to have this, you're going to have also latest release, some reinvent videos that are related to the topic. So that's it. So let's continue. So the first thing is account preparation. So there are one of the very important things is to have tagging done properly on your account. So that's why I'm going to talk about the benefits of tagging. AMS, as soon as we onboard an account, we have an operations integration phase in which we define the best tags and appropriate tags for you, because it can help you in many things, not only cost optimization. For example, it helps you in doing incident management, automations, configuration deployment, cost optimization, monitoring, backup, patching, compliance. And so I can give you an example of some of the things we do for customers as per the request. We built this solution based on a CloudFormation template using field services with Lambda to help you tag properly your EBS and snapshots. So I'll give you an example here. So you have an EC2 instance, and you go there and you change your tagging because it changed the cost center or something in this resource changed. So automatically this Lambda will update all the resources that are related to this EC2. So it will update EBS and snapshots, and also updates the drive mapping on EBS on the snapshots. So in case you need to do a DR, you know where to map those disks to properly. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about other things you have to do to prepare the account, so the so-called foundations. So this is a brief list of some of the things you should be doing to help you on this path. So for example, you have to have the basic IAM access, create an organizations. So those are some best practices. Configure like compute optimizer so you can visualize, and most of those things are not going to cost you. Not going to cost you, are free if you do the default configuration for example, compute optimizer, cost explorer, and things. And here is a QR code, so you can have there is a well-architected labs guide which will help you configuring most of the things that are the foundations, and it's very well explained and easy to do on your account. Okay, so now we move to Cost Explorer. So this is the first visualization tool that you're going to use, and you're going to help you to drill down. This is just one example of a use that you can have with Cost Explorer. It's a basic one, but as you can see here, you can identify basically which services are taking most of the cost from your accounts. And from this is where the guide comes into play. So for example, here you see that EC2 and RDS are the ones taking almost all of most of the percentage of the cost on your accounts. So it will be better to focus your cost optimizations on those. So you make sure that the effort you're putting in to do the cost optimization are going to have proper return to it. So this is where you say, okay, I know that EC2 and RDS are the ones. So let's see which tools I can use to cut costs on those two services. And then you could go to the checklist I have filtered out, and then know each service a little bit more. I have links for every of those services, so you can drill down more and know how to use, how to enable, and what to do with them. The other thing AWS also provides you also on our labs, there is also a link that I will give you that is gonna let you see this in works. So for example here, this is a dashboard that's going to be built for you based on a CloudFormation template. It's a solution that you can build on your own accounts. It's easy to do. It's about 30 minutes. You can deploy this and have all this visualization. This is just one of the tabs. It has a lot of tabs and other modules. And I also have a QR code for you here, so you can go out to this website. Also, the resource docs has the link, so you can also click on the resource doc to see how you can deploy this. This website is not going to show you only how to do on your account. It also has a very interesting thing, which is where I took this picture from. So it's a public view of these, working on one of our demo accounts. So you can see what kind of information those reports are going to give you before you decide to use those. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you one example of report that we create for our customers based on their needs. So this is an example that we gave to customers. So they request us, okay, I want to know if I do compute optimizer, or if I do I delete unattached volumes or enable instance scheduler, how much will I save? So I know that the effort is really, I'm gonna know how much effort I'm gonna have to do based on how much return I'm gonna have, how much cost I'm gonna save, so that I can decide on which one to start first, for example. So this was the requirement, and we built this picture for them, so they would be able to see clearly that instance scheduler was the one to start with that would give them most savings. And we also supplied to them a spreadsheet with more details for that. So for example, the resource ID and which tool they could use, for example, resource scheduler, amount of savings, and also the tags. The tags are really important because they will be able to filter out by if they have many different application team tags on the same account or things like that. It will be easier for them to separate who is going to work with which resources. And we also have the recommendation what you should be doing on specific cases. Okay, so we come to the first view of the checklist, and as I told you, we are going to run over most of the resources in here and fill it out. So the first one is Cost Explorer, and it's on the All Services column. And I put an asterisk here because sometimes this is not all services, but it's most of the services are going to be supported by those services. Okay, next topic is going to be budgets. So what are budgets? Budgets are basically alerts that you can create so that when you exceed a certain threshold, you're going to be informed. We also have budget actions. So customers came and said, okay, I don't just want to know when it goes above a threshold. I also want to have some action after this happens. So you could do things like examples here, change an IAM policy, a service control policy, or automatically stop an EC2 or RDS resource. Another thing that is interesting in other services, AWS cost anomaly detection. And this is a little graph that shows the difference between when you're using AWS budgets versus when you're doing anomaly detection. So basically, if you set a budget like $100,000 per month, and then if it reaches and goes over this limit, it's going to alert on AWS budgets. For anomaly detection, it's going to see as a normal trend because it's normal growth, like 5% per month, so it's expected. And in this other example, you can see the same thing here and catching the anomaly. On budgets, you set, as the other example, 100K, it reached it to 95 and never got alerted. But if you do anomaly detection, you're going to see that the trend in utilization was really different, and you will be alerted on that. Okay, so now we add AWS budgets, all services as well, and cost anomaly detection. The next two we're going to talk about now is AWS Trusted Advisor. And AWS Trusted Advisor has a lot of checks that will help you with cost optimization. It will show you idle resources that you could be terminating or deleting, and many other things you can come from it. And in AMS, we also create detailed spreadsheet and report for customers on each alert. So for example, idle load balancer, we say the resource name, the tags again, how much it's going to save, and what you should be doing in most of those cases. And in the resource docs, you're also going to have more details for each of those checks, and you can get more visibility in what the things that the Trusted Advisor can help you with. So Trusted Advisor. Today, those are the services that main services that are being supported by Trusted Advisor, and Trusted Advisor is growing a lot lately, and this can change from time to time. Next service is a service that I really enjoy because I see a lot of benefits, and customers usually have huge cost savings when using properly Compute Optimizer. So basically, it does to EC2, Lambda, and EBS more than the regular checks because it uses machine learning, and also not gonna only tell you, okay, this resource is underutilized, you can do something, and then you have to figure out what action you could do, which instance you could go to. It goes a step further and give you much more data. So it will tell you, okay, this is over provisioned, so it means that you have an opportunity to save costs. Currently you're using AM4 large, it tells you the instance, and then it tells you which instance you should go to, in this case the 3 large, and also tells you the price difference. So if you can just sort by price difference and check the ones that are having the biggest saving opportunities and start from those. Surely just changing instance types without testing is not recommended, so you should start on non-prod, do proper testing, then go to prod, and using the proper maintenance windows to do so. So I go for Compute Optimizer, so it works for EC2, EBS, and also Lambda. Now we're going to go to some spend governance, so it's a really interesting approach to cost optimization. In this example, I'm going to show you that, as I was talking about, tags is really important. So this service control policy, which it can be created for your whole organization, so it's not on a per account basis, you can create for whole organization, it's easier for you to manage. And you could say things like, okay, I'm gonna deny that someone do a run instance that creates an instance if it does not have my cost center assigned. And I'm gonna only give an exception to this role. It could be like an admin role or a team that would need to do support and could not be doing support or creating instances for testing and having to tag resources. So this would be a use case. Another one is to cut costs by not even having them, so blocking the origin of the costs. So in this case, you're going to allow customers to create instances, any instance type, but like nano, small, micro, and medium, and not let them do large. If it's like depending on the account type, developer account type, or that you can use this kind of logic. And you can also do this and say, okay, I want to do this just for a specific role, a group of users. So we do create policy to restrict usage. It's, as I told you, it's under all services, but some services you may not be able to do some logic, advanced logic based on tagging and things like that. So it really depends on the use case. Another tool that's really useful and really drives costs down mainly for non-production accounts or test account development accounts is the use of Resource Scheduler. So it's basically you're going to set up a time for resources to start and stop. Let's say you do business hours. So if you do business hours, we imagine that people from developer account or non-prod account, they're going to just work on the production on the business hours. So you stop when it's on non-business hours, and you will save around 70% of your cost. And there is another approach in which you don't start the resource, you just stop. Every end of the day, you just stop the resource. If someone needs to use it, they have to just wait startup time, and then use the resource. Then you will save even more than 70%. So the name of this service is AMS Resource Scheduler. So it's an AWS Managed Services service that we created, and is different from what AWS has publicly for customers. And the differences are mainly, one is that we have a cost savings estimator, which is going to show you how much you're saving by using our Resource Scheduler. We also disable the alerts for the resources that we stopped, because since we by purpose we stopped this resource to save cost, it does not make sense for us to alert customers on this. So we also do alerting, and then alert on those resources would not make sense, so we disable alerts for those cases. We also do scheduling of outscaling group resources, and our IAM execution roles are very adherent to principle of least privilege, and you also have support from AMS for this service. And this is a metric on CloudWatch, in which you can see the cost savings estimator for your account. So how much you're saving per day just because of using Resource Scheduler. So we move here, Instance Scheduler, EC2 RDS. And now I'm gonna move to some other ways you can cut costs on EC2 as well. So you could use Graviton 2 or 3, depending on the instance you need. This is AWS CPU. The only point is that it's an ARM based, so you may need some architecture change, but you have good opportunity for cutting costs and have better performance compared to other instance types. So for example, when Graviton 3 came, it gave versus Graviton 2 25% better compute performance, 2 times higher floating point performance, and 2 times faster cryptographic workload performance. You can also use spot instances, which are basically instances that are idle on our data centers, and most of the time you're going to have huge savings when compared to on-demand, up to 90%. The other strategy is to use next generation instances. So let's say that, for example, today you have an M4 large, and we already have the M6. So moving from one category only, so for example, M4 to M5, you have an average of 10% cost performance improvements. So if you move to, then the cost reduction is going to be even more. It's an average of 20% between generations. Another option for you is to use outscaling groups, so that you only have the amount of resources running that are really required. So if you have times that you need more resources in parallel, like you need to do horizontal scaling, then auto-scaling group is going to scale for you based on some metric, application metric, or CPU, for example, memory. So it's CPU went over 60% to 70%, then you can spin up a new instance, and so that you can serve customers. And then other things you can do also is to use containers and lambdas. Also needs to check how your application is working, and so that you can move applications to containers and lambdas, which also can save costs in most cases. So now we have you have 2 slides for checklist, because the other one's already filled. So we got a new one, so we are putting here Graviton 2 and 3 as and the services that you can enable it. For example, here EC2, RDS, Lambda, ECS, and Elastic Cache. Some of the things that's the first slide that I'm showing, that they are on a orange color, the check mark or the text. So it means that the efforts to enable those are most of the times you need more effort to do. So it's not as easy as it should. You may need some migration effort or some other things to plan before doing. And also here spot instances for EC2, ECS, AWS outscaling. So now we move to some optimizations on EBS. So there are some things you can do. You can delete unattached volumes, delete old snapshots. We also in AMS, we created some automation to do this based on some customer logics, like time it's there, unattached volumes always delete, and things like that. Also, moving from GP2 to GP3 is very straightforward and can save you up to 20% in cost. And the last one is not entirely recommended, because moving IO1 to IO2 or IO2 to GP3 needs to be properly tested. latency can vary and the durability is lower on GP3, but depending on the use case, the cost reduction here can go above 75%. So now we add some things here. So delete start stop for EBS, some other tools, GP3, EBS snapshot archive. I have more details on the resource docs for this. So another thing you can do is to use reserved instance and saving plans. So reserved instance provide a significant discount, up to 72% compared to on-demand pricing, and provide the capacity reservation when used in a specific availability zone. There are different approaches you can be followed, like no upfront payment, partial, aggressive, with all upfront, and commitment of 1 or 3 years. And savings plans is a better suggestion. For example, for EC2, most of the times you should not be using reserved instance, just using savings plans because it's way more flexible. The only drawback is that you cannot sell it on marketplace. So we come here and we add savings plans and reserved instances. Now I'm going to talk about some ways to cut costs on S3. So the first service is a storage lens. What you can do with storage lens. So one of the things is you can know which buckets has the highest utilization on a per bucket, per region, per account basis, percentage of data encrypted on bucket, total storage, percentage of non-current objects to check, so that you could create a life cycle to delete old versions and some other things. The other one for S3 is storage class analysis, which enables you to monitor access patterns across objects to help you decide when to transition data to the right storage class to optimize costs. You can then use this information to configure like an S3 lifecycle policy that makes the data transfer. So in this example, as you can see, it analyzed 107 days and suggested to move from standard to standard infrequent access. And for S3, last but not least, we have intelligent tiering. So this is really is a storage class that is designed to optimize storage costs by automatically moving data to the most cost-effective access tier when your access pattern changes. So it's more useful if you don't need to keep checking how your access partner is going and then going to like storage lens and things. So it's way easier if you compare to storage class analysis. It will do for you, and the cost improvements are really big. So for example here, this is today's cost for S3 standard is $23 on per terabyte. And if intelligent tiering detects that it could be moving to like Glacier Deep Archive, you could be paying $1 per terabyte, about $1, less than $1. So here we add storage classes, intelligent tiering, storage lens, and storage class analysis. And then we come to other optimizations you can do on the account. For example, you can host your static web content instead of putting on EC2. You can put on S3. On Redshift, you can pause and resume, the pause and resuming when not in use. For Dynamo, you can start automatically scaling and out using this outscaling feature, or you can also use the on-demand option, which allows you to pay per request for read and write requests, so that you only pay for what you use. And you also have in standard infrequent access for Dynamo, which is a table class that helps you reduce Dynamo costs by 60% for tables that store data that are infrequently accessed. Other things that we had some announcements for new serverless for Redshift and MSK and EMR. You can also try to put resources in regions that have a lower cost. Also can use gateway endpoints. So gateway endpoints are free and it's going to reduce your transfer cost. Another option is also to use open source platforms, like moving away from Oracle and Microsoft licensing to open source, and use CloudFront because if you put CloudFront on top of your EC2, you will save on compute and data transfer costs. So we add here delete stop for other services, gateway endpoints, RR serverless, Dynamo features, Redshift serverless, S3 static website hosting, and also open source OS. So this is the final version of our checklist. Look, let me get back here again. This is the first one that we filled together, and this is the second one all filled up. And you're gonna have all this information and this checklist available to you for download, and also the resource doc that I spoke about. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.